Very good morning, cadets. We are in the process of revision of history, class 7th, our past, part 2. In the last video sessions, I completed the important key notes of related to chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 related to history. Hope you are writing the points so that you can understand chapter in an easy way. Today, let us discuss the important points related to chapter number 4, that is the Mughal Empire. So cadets, remember important dates related to the Mughal Empire. One is the first battle of Panipat, that is 1526. Then second battle of Panipat, because first battle of Panipat laid the foundation stone to the Mughal Empire. The second battle of Panipat re-established the Mughal supremacy in India, because after death of Babur, Mughal dynasty, they could not prove their strength in India. So once again they re-established their power. That is the reason you have to remember first battle of Panipat and the second battle of Panipat. Of course, the third battle of Panipat, that is not related to Mughals but Marathas and Ahmad Shah Abdali. Okay, chapter 4, the Mughal Empire. In the Middle Age, a very powerful empire was that of Mughals. From the later half of the 16th century, they expanded their kingdom from Agra to Delhi, until in the 17th century they controlled nearly all the subcontinent. So the Mughal dynasty was in its zenith, the top of the power, pinnacle of success during Akbar and Aurangzeb. But when you compare the administration of Akbar and Aurangzeb was too religious. That is the reason why he reintroduced the religious tax known as Jizya tax. But Akbar's rule, considered as most benevolent king, or he concentrated more on welfare of all the religion. That's the reason Akbar propounded a religion called Deen-e-Ilahi. Deen-e-Ilahi means he gave equal importance to all the religion. That is one of the greatness of Akbar. That's why Akbar, the Mughal Emperor Akbar, considered Akbar the Great. The legacy left by them stands unparalleled. So you cannot compare Mughal dynasty with Delhi Sultanates or Khilji, Lodi or any other dynasty, because art and architecture, the contribution of Mughals considered as very, very important. That's the reason why. Now let us discuss who were Mughals. The Mughals were descendants of two great lineages of rulers. From their mother's side, they were descendants of Genghis Khan, and from father's side, they were descendants of Taimur. So regarding this, we discussed in detail when the regular chapter was on, because Mughal descendants, the origin of Mughals, Taimur Lung and Genghis Khan, because the lineage of two great rulers. Mughal military campaigns. Babur, the first Mughal emperor, captured Delhi in 1526 by defeating Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat. So the first battle of Panipat, Babur, the first Mughal emperor, captured Delhi in 1526 by defeating Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat. Humayun captured Delhi back in 1555. Then Akbar captured Chittor in 1568, Ranthambore in 1569, Gujarat, Bihar, Bengal, Kashmir, Berar, Khandesh, etc. in 1585 to 1605. So Akbar extended the territory or boundary of Mughal Empire to a large extent to all the corners of India, and Akbar, popularly known for best type of administration and one of the greatest quality of religious tolerance, and abolishing the religious tax known as jizya tax. What is jizya tax? The tax imposed on non-Muslims is called as jizya tax. So Akbar abolished jizya tax and considered or equal importance to all the religions during his administration. Jahangir took campaign against Sikhs and Ahoms. So if you remember, Ahoms are the tribal group, but very, very strong tribal groups. So Jahangir succeeded his campaign against Sikh, because if you remember Khalsa Panth, Guru Gobind Singh, Khalsa Panth, a group of young warriors from the Sikh religion, they started undergoing training in martial art, so that they want to protect the religion atrocities from external aggression. So Jahangir took campaign against Sikhs and Ahoms. Shah Jahan captured Ahmednagar and Bijapur. So Shah Jahan extended the territories down south till Bijapur. So Bijapur was those days ruled by Adil Shahis of Bijapur. The origin of Adil Shahis are called as Bahmani Empire. Okay, so the Bahmani Empire later split into independent kingdoms. Out of that, one is Adil Shahis of Bijapur. Aurangzeb waged a long battle in Deccan province. It is told or written by the historians that Aurangzeb spent nearly 25 years of his initial life as a king in the war field, because he wanted to extend the territory of Mughal Empire to east, west, south and north side of India, and he wanted to bring the popularity back. So that's the reason why Aurangzeb spent a lot of time in war campaigns. He extended up to the Deccan Plateau and of course attacked to Bijapur. Mughal tradition of succession. Mughals did not believe the rule of primogeniture. So what is primogeniture means? We studied, of course, where the eldest son inherited his father's estate, or means eldest son, the power goes to the first son. This succession not followed by the Mughals. That's the reason why if you study deep into the Mughal history. Right, enough examples for internal clash and rivalry to attain kingdom or to become a king after death of the emperor. If you remember Shah Jahan's, or even in the case of Aurangzeb, Aurangzeb killed his own brothers and reached to the power. So they did not believe in where the eldest son is inherit or succeed his father's kingdom. They follow the custom of coparcenary inheritance or a division of inheritance amongst the all sons. Coparcenary is nothing but what today the Supreme Court of the Government of India is suggesting, that if father's property or land is there, it should be divided equally into the children. That is what coparcenary. So they believed in the system of dividing the land or the empire among all the sons. Mughal relations with other rulers. The Mughal rulers campaigned constantly against rulers who refused to accept their authority. But the Mughals became powerful. Many other rulers joined them voluntarily. The Rajput served the Mughal voluntarily. Mughals gave mansab and jagirs, which helped them to expand their territories. The main source of income available to Mughal rulers was a tax on the produce of peasantry, or the farmers. Akbar's policy. Akbar's work were found in the book called Akbarnama, written by Abul Fazl. Akbar divided his kingdom into provinces called Subhas, governed by Subedars. Akbar's noble commanded large armies and had access to large amount of revenue. While Akbar was at Fatehpur Sikri, he started discussion on religion with the ulemas, Brahmins, Jesuits, and Roman Catholic and Zoroastrians. This discussion took place in a place called Ibadat Khana. So this is about a few important points related to chapter number 4. Let us check the chapter number 3. Chapter number 3, Delhi Sultanates or Delhi Sultanate 1206 to 1526. Delhi became the capital as a kingdom under Tomara Rajputs, who were defeated by, spelling mistake here also, by Chauhans. The transformation of Delhi into capital that controlled vast areas of subcontinent started with the foundation of the Delhi Sultanates in the beginning of 13th century. Rulers of Delhi. Tomaras, that is early 12th century to 1165. Chauhans 1165 to 1192. Prithviraj Chauhan 1175 to 1192. Slave dynasty 1206 to 1290. Khilji dynasty 1290 to 1320. Tughlaq dynasty 1320 to 1414. Sayyid dynasty 1414 to 1451. Lodi dynasty 1451 to 1526. Finding about the Delhi Sultans. Inscriptions, coins and architecture provide lot of information. Further, valuable source are historians, that is Tariq and Tawarik, written in Persian language, of administration under Delhi Sultans. The author of Tawarik were learned men, secretariats, administrators, poets, and the countries who both recounted events and advised rulers on governance, emphasizing the importance of just rule. From garrison town to empire. In the early 13th century, the control of Delhi Sultans rarely went beyond heavily fortified towns occupied by garrison. Delhi's authority was challenged by Mongols and the governors who rebelled at any sign of Sultan's weakness. The expansion of Delhi Sultanates took place under the reign of Balban, Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq. The expansion of Delhi took place under reign of Balban, Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq. Administration and consolidation. To have reliable governors, the early Delhi Sultan, especially Iltutmish, favored their special slaves purchased for military service called Bandagan in Persian. The Khiljis and Tughlaqs continued to use Bandagan and also raised the people of humble birth who were their clients to high position like governors and generals. The Khiljis and Tughlaqs appointed military commanders as governors of territories of varying sizes. These lands were called Iqta and their holders were called Mufti or Iqtidar. The duty of Muftis was to lead a military campaign and maintain law and order in their Iqtas. In return, Muftis collected revenue of their assignment as a salary and they paid their soldiers from the revenue. Under Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq, accounts were appointed to check the amount collected by the Muftis. As Delhi Sultans brought the hinterland of the city under their control, they focused as Samantas and the rich landlords to accept their authority. The attacks of Mongols under Genghis Khan forced Khiljis and Tughlaqs to mobilize a large standing army in Delhi. The sultanates in 15th and 16th centuries. The Tughlaqs, the Sayyid and Lodi dynasty ruled from Delhi and Agra until 1526. By then, Jaunpur, Bengal, Malwa, Gujarat, Rajasthan and the entire South India had independent rulers who established flourishing states and prosperous capitals. The ruling dynasty like Afghans and Rajputs also arose during this period. In 1526, Mughals established their empire though for a brief period, Suri dynasty ruled Delhi, that is 1540 to 1555. Administration became the role model for Akbar, the Mughal emperor. So this is about chapter number 3. So chapter number 3 we covered, and this video for, of course, for 22nd, that is for Friday, we covered chapter number 3. So 4 slides related to chapter number 3. And we also covered chapter number 4, that is Mughal Empire. You can of course elaborate or add your own notes. This is about chapter number 4, that is the Mughal Empire, chapter number 4. So today we covered 2 chapters. One is chapter number 3, the second one is chapter number 4. So cadets, please write down the notes, key notes. Of course you may jot earlier completed notes because of my previous videos and PPT, but even though you have completed, but revise those topics because very important from the examination point of view. Take care, stay happy and stay safe. Wish you a wonderful day. Thank you very much. Thank you.